Abe Lincoln? Abe Lincoln!
Abe Lincoln.
Abe Lincoln!
Wow.
So good to see you,
It's good
sir.
to see you today.
Oh my goodness.
I'm sorry I'm a little bit under the weather. My voice isn't working so well right now.
It's
Yeah.
just tragic.
It is tragic, but I see you're growing yourself an Aben beard.
That's right. I'm a full-in impersonator. I see you have one going as well.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
good. Very impressive.
Yeah.
No shave November.
Sadly, it's coming off tomorrow.
Ah, Chipler.
Tomorrow's December. All right. So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, I thought we would talk about our first impressions and the power of a first impression.
Yeah, they're very important.
That's right.
They play a huge role on the rest of the relationship.
Indeed.
So for our project, we decided to do a survey, and what we did is we gave it to. We went to Walmart and gave it to a bunch of random people.
Our neighboring town, because Beaver doesn't have a Walmart. So we needed to go somewhere a little bigger so we could have a first impression on someone that didn't know us.
Have a random sample of people that we have no experience
That's right.
previous to. And so we just gave them a couple questions. Half the time, we use these hats.
Half of them to see what kind of first impression that made, and then the other half, we went without the hats.
Without the hats, and then we just measured the difference and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
So the questions we asked them are,
What is your first impression of me? How do you
Okay.
feel that first impressions, or do you feel that first impressions are important? And how do you feel your first impression will shape future interactions with me? With us, rather.
yeah. So we came up with six
Participants
Participants.
from Walmart. We tried to keep it random, tried to keep it, a variety of different people. So,
And interestingly enough, only one woman, she's about a middle-aged woman, was the only one that said that first impressions were not, important. She felt that when we asked her, how do you feel your first impression will shape future interactions with us? She said that she will just keep learning more about us, so she won't rely on the past, she'll just focus on the present.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was also interesting to note the difference in their reactions to us with our first impressions. Because when we wore our Abe Lincoln's hats, obviously they saw our beards and they knew we were very interesting people.
That's right.
So they were happy to give us their time.
That's right.
But when we were without the hats, they were a little gruffer, a little
Kind of like, why are you talking to me, sort of a
Yeah.
thing. But,
not quite as receptive and
yeah.
helpful.
But for the most part, they answered our questions, and we did get results.
Yes, we definitely got results.
Okay. So,
So let's, yeah. So, do you want to do each, some of the different people and tell their responses?
okay, yeah, so the first person we came to, she's probably a college-aged girl.
Yeah, that's what we figured.
So she was by herself. We just went and talked to her. But when we asked what her first impression of us was,
She thought we were quite adorable.
quotes, adorable. She said it, not us. And then she thinks first impressions are important.
And then, with how she felt that this first impression would affect future interactions, she said she'd be on the lookout for more Abe Lincoln impersonators.
Yeah.
So,
We quite liked her responses.
yeah, I think she liked our Abe Lincoln impersonation, so
Yeah.
pretty good.
It certainly developed the first impression of us with our Abe Lincoln hats would certainly be hard for her to forget because
Yeah.
it's our first encounter.
And so, with that, we saw that the first impression, having this and, kind of molding what we were giving her, it had a very positive effect.
Yeah. And then the second person we went to was he's like an pretty old man.
Older
Yeah.
fellow. He was a little confused when we asked him, we said, what's happening here?
Like, what are you doing?
He
And
said
then
that was his first impression, like a little confused, like, because we don't live in Victorian England.
no, these hats aren't in the norm apparently
Yeah.
in Walmart.
What a shame.
But he said that he thought first impressions were very important.
Mm-hmm.
And he told us that he will always be reminded of our nice hats. So interestingly enough, only talking to us for a few minutes, or not even a few minutes, just 30 seconds
30
is
seconds,
all.
yeah.
You can shape an entire picture, make an assessment of somebody
Yeah.
just that quick.
Mm-hmm.
In my research, It was in an article. It was called "How Many Seconds to Take to a First Impression." It said, research shows that a first assessment about someone can be made in as little as 1/10 of a second. Now that's just mind blowing. Just 1/10 of a second is just fast. It's so quick, but people are very fast at making
Yeah.
a judgment about somebody, even without actually speaking to them. They just have to see them.
Yeah. In fact, I have another interesting study. It was from, let's see, it was from the American Psychological Association. And so what they did was they got a group of men together and they showed them to their participants of the study. And so they had the participants look at them and say, are you gay, straight, or whatever orientation they wanted. And so they got that first impression just by looking at them. And then they told the people, the participants, what it was. And these people, they often stuck to their first impression rather than what they were told. They're like, no, I'm pretty sure he's straight, or pretty sure he's...
They trust their first judgment.
Yeah, and so they clung to that over the substance, over the reality, over the fact. And so that just goes on to prove the immensity of the shaping power of a first impression.
That they can be very hard to undo.
Yeah.
Also, another research I found is in making a great first impression was the article. It said these first impressions can be nearly impossible to reverse or undo, making those first encounters extremely important, for they set the tone for all the relationship that follows. So, it says it just right out right there that overcoming a first impression is extremely difficult, just because people stick to their first thought and they don't want to let go of that thought. Because once they're devoted to something, then it's hard to change their mind about it. So, I don't know. I think it is impossible that you can overcome a first impression.
I had one a scientist, Nicholas Rule from the University of Toronto, who he said that in order to overcome first impressions, he agreed that it's possible, but he said that it takes deliberate, continual thought of trying to overcome it, of trying to say that's just a first impression, that's not reality, and just constantly reminding yourself to kind of be open-minded. And so that was something interesting to see, that well, first impressions, they can be a good thing. They can often, just as often, be a negative aspect that's going to be detrimental to a relationship.
Yeah, that's right.
And so in order to just kind of be fair to that person and not let a first impression forever shape it, you need to try and keep that in mind and try and just think about it continually to overcome the power of the first impression.
Because it is powerful.
Very
It sways a
powerful.
lot of views, a lot of opinions. So going on to another sort of a topic, I found a quote. It's from Billy Zane. It says, "With me, it is always about first impressions." Now, I thought about that he always lives by, trying to make positive first impressions with people. And is that really like a bad way to live?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is either. I think if you always try to dress the best and always try to put out a good persona, then I don't know, it'll only benefit you. It doesn't do much harm to make yourself look nice. Just if you go up to somebody like during your job interview and you're just in your pajamas or something like that, they'll be very less likely to hire you. And if they do hire you, I feel that their trust would be, their respect would be,
It'd be quite a bit lower, yeah.
sufficiently lower.
So, I mean, we've seen that the first impression, it's going to be molding the interactions for quite some time to come. So, knowing that is the reality, it seems clear that, with Billy Zane, like you said, we need to be aware that first impressions are going to have an effect, and just be constantly trying to have a positive one.
And you meet new people every day. So, I mean,
You're always making first impression.
yeah.
It's a continual job. Have to work at it.
Although it does require a little effort, I think it pays off in the long run to make a positive first impression. But,
Yeah. So then, just quickly to look at
our visual
visual aid. This is our survey, actually.
The hats are also visual aid.
So what was interesting, just another fact to show the effect of the first impression. When we didn't wear a hat, we talked to a 10-year-old little kid, and he was really quite rude to us. And that might just because he's a rude kid, but we like to think it's because we weren't wearing our exciting hats.
It was rather insulting, actually.
Yeah.
So
And so that just goes again to show the effect of the first impression. So
even something
There's-
as simple as just wearing a hat,
Mhm.
as ridiculous as it may be, it can still shape somebody's entire view of
yeah.
and the nature of your relationship from there on. But
So I think let's just go over our conclusions and
yeah, I
yeah.
think
So
So what we've talked about is our project. We gave our survey. We told you some of the questions that we asked them and some of the results that we got.
yeah,
We mentioned if you can overcome a first
you know,
impression.
you're gonna have to work hard at it, and they're gonna have to try to overcome it. It's difficult. It can be done, so it's best to just make a good one.
That's right. And what we think, personally, I feel that a first impression is very important, and you should always try to dress to impress,
Yeah.
and always be the best person you can be. This will only benefit you.
Yeah, you're never going to be hurt by making a good impression. It can only help you rise higher and higher and have more success.
That's right.
So, seems very clear the first impressions are important.
Yeah, we agree that they do change. They're, all right.
Glad to work with you, Abe Lincoln.
Yeah, buddy. We'll see y'all later.